Now we're on to imitating textures from real objects. And because you're not in the classroom with me where I can give you a brick to put on your table and a piece of wood to put on your table to be able to draw it from direct observation, what I've done instead is at the assignment, I have put photos of each of the objects that you're going to be drawing onto the worksheet. So you should have already completed the diagram for the worksheet where you've got it divided into the different sections, just like we did with the folded paper for the crayon rubbings. But now we've used a ruler, as the direction says, to do all of that. And in the diagram instructions, I wasn't able to include this little line that separates the label from the work, like you can see for each of these. And it's just the width of a pencil. As a matter of fact, what we did in class is we traced the pencil. It's a fourth of an inch or so. And the rest of the space is going to be, like you can see, filled from top to bottom, side to side, except for where the label is, with an example of that texture. So I've completed the texture for, this brick, into that space. And you can see it's mostly tone. The very first thing to do is find the darkness of the object and put it down, the darkness of the object in tone. And I didn't go too dark with it because if I did, then my marks wouldn't have had as much contrast. So I kept it a little lighter in overall tonality or tone value, darkness. And then I started using smaller marks to create the cracks and the crevices where the light doesn't get into as easily. And because of that, it doesn't bounce back much light to our eyes, showing the texture, the quality of the brick. So here's what you do on your device. You go to the assignment after you've got it all, the chart all set up, and you can see under number 3 of the how is a list of each of the different objects there: brick, wood, fur, grass, hair, cloth / fabric, gravel, and glass. What you do is you click on them, and we worked on brick in class today, so you should be done with that. If you didn't, that's your first step. And on that, I've got all these different photos that I collected from the internet, but also I took some photos of the real things that I have with me here at the home too, and included in this kind of encyclopedia of different textures. And what you do is you find the one that you think is kind of cool, that you would like to replicate. You open it up, and you might even want to zoom in on it so that you can see it really carefully. And then you put down the basic darkness of that rectangle inside the rectangle with tone. And then you start using stroke and tone to create the little darker areas. Now, this is not mine, so mine doesn't have that big crack in it and the other cracks. But to do them, it's very similar to what we did with the practice on this one right here, right? So for the crayon rubbings. So you get to choose which ones you use. And when you're done with that one, then you go to the next one, you select it. You look them over and you go, oh yeah, I think I like this one. I'm going to do this one as my wood texture. So whatever's in there, you try to replicate in there. Make sure you put it in the accurate place. If you put it in the wrong place, I'm going to expect you to do it again. Not have an arrow directing me to the correct place. Excuse me. So that's your job. Remember, once again, you put down tone first, right? So as you're working, you're looking at the at your camera, at your video, right? First thing is I put down a tonality. Overall, it's darker than the white paper everywhere inside that square for the wood. And then it's a little darker on the left side than it is the right side. So I'm going to build up more darkness on this side. It's still not black though, and I stay inside that rectangle. And then I'm going to start putting in some of the dark areas. There are dark areas and light areas as it goes around. And then I'm going to pan back a little bit so you can see my screen too. Okay, let's see if we can get both of them in the picture here. I don't think I can get both of them in. There we go. Yeah, that's going to be hard to do. So as I'm looking at this, I'm trying to replicate it here, and I'm using line, stroke, and tone. I've got a dark area right in here, so I increase the amount of darkness by going around in that area. And it's not hard edged, it's really soft edged. So there's some darker areas going downward into it that get into the deep dark area as it cracks around to make the texture of that wood. So I'm looking at it and I'm drawing it. I'm going to bring it back down to what I'm doing here. All right. Hopefully you can see well enough to figure out what I'm doing. So I've already started creating the texture of the wood that is the bark of that tree. Now, my picture on my screen is bigger than my space, so I'm not going to try to draw the whole thing, and it doesn't have to be absolutely accurate, but this is how you make it happen. This is what you do. You move your pencil around, and you use line, stroke, and tone to create those values that show the roughness of the object that you are drawing. Remember, we have some objects that are going to be smooth too, so how do you make those? I'll show you that when we're in class. Once you've got that done from side to side, top to bottom, for all of the different main sections, inside of those sections are even smaller textures. So this is where you might shift from holding your pencil this way to this way, and now you can come in and you can do these little cracks that move in and around on top of the light areas and into the dark areas. They don't stop where the light stops. They go down deeper and darker. And I'm moving in strokes now, right on top of my tones to create more believable textures that mimic the wood textures that I see in my picture. So this will take me probably 5 minutes. Each one of these, a minimum of 5 minutes to do, maybe even up to 15 minutes for each one, depending on its difficulty. That's the job. And remember, we're doing them together in class, but if you miss a day, I'm expecting you to keep up with this. We're doing this, then this, this, then this, this, then this, this, then this. Do them in that sequence, left to right, top to bottom. That's it.